We go back to that Zimbabwe story. Of course, the highest court in Zimbabwe preparing to hand down judgment on Friday at around 2 p.m. We are joined on the line from the capital, Harare, by Sunday Times journalist Ray Ndlovu. Ray, it's been a saga in itself that has clearly brought on a lot of media attention as well. Do we think that the right announcement or the right judgment will be handed down on Friday?
Thanks for having me, Arabile. I think it's really now left to the court to make that ruling, and I think it would be premature to make any suggestion of how it's going to rule. But obviously today we saw both sides making spirited attempts at trying to convince the 9 judges that were at the Constitutional Court to rule in their favor. So really it's come down to Friday, and at 2 p.m. we'll expect to hear that judgment being delivered by the Chief Justice.
Yeah, the significance of this, however, has almost been dampened or perhaps overshadowed by the 2 South African lawyers, Dali, Mpofu and Tembeka, Ngcukaitobi, and their travel from South Africa to Zimbabwe to try and help the situation, particularly for the MDC. Do you believe that as well? Do you think that it's taken away from the real reason behind this court case in itself?
Well, I think the court case was something that was very much expected. Obviously, I think from reading the situation at the court today, the fact that advocates Mpofu and Tembeka could not speak and address the court might be seen within the MDC alliance camp itself that, they were robbed of arsenal that they were hoping to use because these are respected legal minds. And surely enough, this is something that the MDC alliance has boasted of in the past couple of weeks, and made the strong point that they've got, the very best lawyers to argue their case for them. And definitely, I think that they feel aggrieved today as they retire, obviously, and look at this and say they were not able to have their own legal minds, the best that they could get in their words, to actually argue this case before the courts. But again, they do have a very strong team locally of representatives. So while at the same time they might feel aggrieved that they couldn't get representation, or rather their representation from South Africa to speak, I think they did manage to put across their case and argue where they stand and what they're trying to convince the judges to rule in this matter. So still, I think all eyes really remain on the outcome on Friday at 2 p.m. as you expect this Chief Justice to make that ruling.
Yeah, the legitimacy of those representing each side has been questioned quite significantly as well. How significant is that to the court case?
I think the sides basically are all represented by lawyers that are respected, who are practicing lawyers within the country, and there's no doubt in terms of their credentials. I think all sides mutually respect each other in terms of the work that they do today. And I do not read or get the sense that, the legitimacy of any of the camps of the legal teams is really in doubt or in question. Perhaps, the significance, the greater significance for me would lie within this, the outcome of this court case, because this is the final stop of trying to end a long, drawn-out process. So the fact that both sides brought out what they consider to be the very best in terms of their legal minds, to speak and appear before the courts is something significant, as we'll try and convince them so that, they can get a ruling that's in their favor, and we possibly see an end to, the long, protracted delays in terms of resolving the disputes around the presidential election.
Have we heard from either side as to whether they will accept whatever outcome is put forward by the court on Friday?
We haven't heard anything as of today in terms of the proceedings of court. We did only hear on Monday from the president of the MDC Alliance, Chamisa. We held a press briefing at the party headquarters, who was asked this question by journalists to say, would he accept a ruling from the court should it be delivered and it's not in his favor? But basically his response was that he would assess the process and then only then, make an announcement as to whether he accepts that. But again, I think at this point, really, it's come down to the fact that there is no other arbiter that both sides can get. Constitutional Court is the final judge in this matter, and really both sides have to accept what the court is going to rule, and then we take it from there. But none of the sides at this point have made any statement, because the court is still presiding over this matter.
This is important to get it solved very quickly as well, considering that now Zimbabwe sits in limbo in a situation where they actually don't have a leader. How important is it that the road to recovery, shall we call it, is kicked off in earnest with an answer and a judgment to that election?
Yeah, I think basically, one of the challenges, or what very few people did foresee, is the fact that this election still into the courts. So already, whoever is going to be pronounced as the leader of Zimbabwe, come the judgment that's going to be made on Friday, has that hurdle of crossing, first of all, because, there was very few expectation that it would, result in a court battle. So that person, whoever is going to be announced, needs then to try and bring what is seen as a divided nation, really, because both sides are very strong in terms of the case that they are arguing. So not only, is it an issue of trying to get investment back into the country, which is quite important, but I think the divisions which are apparent at this point in time need to be addressed by a new leader who also has to rally all his forces in terms of trying to kickstart the economy and get, the needed much needed investment and FDI inflows into Zimbabwe, which is what I think really is at the top of everyone's minds, come post this exercise within the courts.
Yeah. Very finally, Ray, do you think that if President Mnangagwa wins the election, or the ZANU-PF is then successful, do you think the legitimacy of his presidency will be continued to be questioned throughout his time as president?
I think it's still something that's still premature to conclude on. I think should he be pronounced as the leader of Zimbabwe, should the courts give that verdict, there's definitely going to be a tall order for him, and in any case for anyone, I think, who is going to be pronounced as the leader. So I think there's really not only just a legitimacy question, there's so many challenges, like I've already indicated, the challenges of divisions, trying to convince the foreign investors. So there's really quite a lot that has to be, dealt with by any leader. And, it stands to be seen, I think, on Friday, what the courts are going to rule, and then it'll be much easier and a clearer position to see what challenges really each candidate would face should they either of them be pronounced as the leader of Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Friday, 2 p.m., the Court in Zimbabwe will be announcing who exactly won the election and the legitimacy of that election as well. Ray Ndlovu is Sunday Times editor, having joined us on the line. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Do continue to tell us your thoughts. You can post your comments to #FullView and send us your voice notes, or even send us a video call as well. You can send that through to +2 479 8056. You can view also any of our interviews and features by going to sabcnews.com. We also have a Facebook page, and of course you can find us on Twitter.